Welcome back to 8.5. We're going to talk about the tangent ratio. Now, for those of you who have had Algebra 2, you learned about SOHCAHTOA. So do you remember that? Let me just write that down here. So SOHCAHTOA is SOHCAHTOA. We are going to talk about the TOA today. The book does it in that order. The book is really old. I'll tell you why later, how I can tell later. So what SOHCAHTOA is, it's telling us that sine, on your calculator, it's a sin button, but it's really sine. That's the abbreviation for sine, is the opposite over the hypotenuse. It's a ratio of the sides. That's what sine, cosine, and tangent are. Cosine, which is like this, but it's the cos button, is adjacent over hypotenuse. And what we're going to talk about today is the tangent. The tangent, it's the tan button, tangent is the opposite, the ratio of the opposite side over the adjacent side. So they're ratios. So we're going to be focusing on this one today, and it should be pretty easy. I'm not sure about the homework though. So let's go and see what the book has to say. The objectives of this section, these next three sections, are to define tangent, sine, and cosine ratios for acute angles and to solve right triangle problems using sine, cosine, and tangent. So here we go. So the tangent ratio. The word trigonometry comes from the Greek word that means triangle measurement. In this book, our study will be limited to trigonometry of right angles. In the right triangle shown, one acute angle is marked. The leg opposite this angle and the leg adjacent to this angle are labeled. So they labeled this acute angle right here, and they're telling us this is the one opposite. See how it's opposite? And this one is adjacent, right near it. So those are really important, and of course the one opposite the right angle is called the hypotenuse. So the tangent of angle A is the opposite over adjacent. Remember our TOA? Opposite over adjacent. That's what O stands for opposite, A stands for adjacent. So in abbreviated form, they're going to say the tangent of A is the opposite over adjacent. So if we do this first problem, it's going to start out really easy. This book has some really hard problems, but this is easy. So here we go. So if we're going to find, we have this problem right down here, and it actually, I went over top of it. It says find the tangent of x and the tangent of y. So we're going to look, here's x, here's angle x. We'll do this one in black. So if we find the tangent of angle x, it's going to equal the opposite. Let me just clean that up a little bit. Equals the opposite, so let's go opposite. Opposite is 12. Adjacent to this angle is 5. It's down here. So the tangent of x is 12 over 5. The tangent of y is, we have to find y. I'll just switch this up in a different color. So here's y. So the opposite of y is 5. The one that's adjacent to 5. Now don't use the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is over here. So we don't use that one. We'll never use that one when we're using tangent. So it's going to be 12 over 5. And that's how you work the tangent ratio. So let's move on. So this is example 2. It says find the value of y to the nearest tenth. This is where it gets a little tricky. So we're going to use the angle 56. Last time it was just an x. This time we have 56. So we're going to use this angle right here, and we're going to use the tangent function. Do you see how we don't have the hypotenuse? So you can't use sine or cosine. Sine or cosine uses the hypotenuse. I wish I could see your faces right now to see how confused you are, but I can't. So I'm just going to carry on. So the tangent of 56, that's the angle we have, is equal to the opposite, which is y, and the adjacent, which is 32. Now you need calculators with these tangents, cosine, sines on them. Now back in the day when I was in school, there was a chart. We didn't have calculators. We had calculators, but they could only do like plus, minus, multiply, and divide. In this book, that's why it's so old, it has a table of trigonometric ratios, which we're not going to use, but if you want to look at it for fun, go ahead. So, like for instance, in the book, they'll have a tangent of 56, so you have to look up the angle 56 and find the tangent. You just track across and find it, but we're not going to use that. We are going to actually use our calculator. So in our calculator, we type tangent, and then we put 56, and we put equal. So right here, this is going to be 1.48. We're just going to round it to 2 digits, so our answers are going to be approximate. Equals y over 32. And then we're just going to cross multiply. I'm going to take that. I just left that answer in my calculator. I'm going to take it times 32, and I'm going to get y equals 47.44. And if it's approximate, we're supposed to use these wavy lines, but I always forget. So y, this side, is 47.44 approximately. So that's how we use the tangent function to find sides. Okay, so let's do a practical example, and then we'll do a few of the classroom exercises are a little on the weird side, so I might jump and do a few of the written ones. So here we go. This is different. This is actually another part. Now, sometimes they give us the side, and we have to find the angle. They're going to tell you to use the chart. I'm going to tell you to use your calculator. So you can find the approximate degree measure of an angle with a given tangent by reading from the table from the tangent column across from the angle column. Don't do that. Or by using the inverse tangent keys of a calculator. Thank you. So this one says the grade of a road is the ratio of its rise to its run and is usually given as a decimal or percent. Find the angle that the road makes with the horizon if its grade is 4% or 4 over 100. So we have the rise over run, which is 4 over 100. So I don't know how this book, so you can just use the 0.4, but let's just do the rise. This is going to be 4 over 100. So we would say the tangent of x, we don't know what x is, equals 4 over 100. Or we could say the tangent of x equals 0.04, like they said. Now, to find out what x is, we need to take the inverse tangent of both sides. So I like to think of it like this. Tangent x equals the inverse tangent of 0.04. So these cancel out. It's kind of like taking x to the -1 times x to the 1. It's x to the 0. So these cancel out. So you take your calculator and you put the inverse tangent button. So you're going to do second tangent. It looks like this. Tangent with a -1. You usually have to do second. And then you put in your 0.04. And you're going to get 2.29. And so that's going to be the approximate angle that this road is graded, the grade. So that's how we work the tangent function. Your calculator could be in a different mode, which will not be good. So I want you right now to put in on your calculator, this is how I always test my calculator to see if it's in degrees or radians. Put in sine, hit sine, and then 30, and then put equal, and you should get 0.5. So try that out in your calculator, sine 30, and you should get 1/2. If you don't get 1/2, your calculator is in the wrong mode. So you would have to go into mode and float down until you see degree. If you have trouble with this, email me and I'll walk you through it. But your calculator can be in 2 different modes. It can either be in radians or degrees, and you need to make sure that it's in degrees, or you're going to get all the problems wrong. All right, let's just look at a few of these real quick, and then I might just pick some written ones to work through. So the first ones, it says express r as tangent r as a ratio. So here's angle r. We need it to be a ratio. It's going to be 3/8, opposite over adjacent. Here's r again, 13 over 19. Here's R again, opposite over adjacent, 15 over 8. Then they want us to find the tangent of S. So we go to S right here, and it will be opposite over adjacent. So it's going to be 8 over 3. Here's S. It's going to be 19 over 13. Here's S. It's going to be 8 over 15. Now, on 7 through 7, it says use the table to complete the statements. We're not going to use the table. So you just use your calculator, you enter tangent 24. If you want to know the degree, you're going to put inverse tangent, and I'm going to put that number 2.4751, enter, and I get 67 degrees. So this one will be 67 degrees. Or it's really 68 because we're going to round it up. So that's how all of those work. So let's go to the next slide. These are some more practice problems. It says 3, 45, 45, 90 triangles are shown below, and each triangle express tangent of 45 in simplest form. So basically what they're telling us is here's our 45-degree angle, and if we're going to find the tangent of whatever this angle is, we know it's 45, it's going to be opposite over adjacent, it's going to be 1. So anytime you have the tangent of a 45-degree angle, it's going to be 1. That's basically what they're showing us. 17 over 17 is 1, t over t is 1. If it's an isosceles right triangle, it's going to be a 45, 45, 90 triangle, and the tangent of 45 is going to be 1. So I don't think these are worth doing. Let's see, 10. 2 ways to find the value of x are stated below. So they're just saying we could say the tangent of 40 degrees is opposite over adjacent. Do you see this right here? So if we want to find it, tangent of 40 degrees is opposite over adjacent. So you put tangent of 40 in your calculator and solve for x. And then the second one down here, it says, let me just blow this up a little bit so we can all see it. This one right here, it's giving us something. Oh, it's giving us what the tangent is of that number. Oh, that is the tangent. Okay, they're doing both ways. So the tangent of 40 is this, and this is the tangent of 40. So as I said, the practice problems weren't very helpful. So let's do a few from the homework, and then we'll close down this lesson. So I'm just going to pick a couple random ones. I haven't worked these out, so bear with me. So let's see. Let's just do number 4 because you don't have the even answers in your book. Okay, so they give us a right triangle. Does that look kind of right? Right. All right, here we go. It's a right triangle, and this is number 4. So this is 50 degrees. This is the right angle, and this is x, and this is 1.2. Now all of these are tangent problems, so you don't have to think, do I need to use sine, cosine, tangent, because none of them are going to give you the hypotenuse. So what we do is say tangent of 50 equals opposite, which is x, over adjacent, which is 1.2. In your calculator, you're going to type in the tangent of 50, and I got 1.19 and equals x over 1.2, and then we're just going to cross multiply. So I'm going to take the answer that's in my calculator times 1.2, so I didn't round yet. So we're going to get x is approximately equal to 1.43. And that's how you work that type. That's the first type, where you're given the degree. The second part is you're given the sides and you have to find the angle. So let's work one of those. Let's pick one that has numbers. Let's do 8 first. So here's 8. Draw the triangle. I shouldn't erase my triangle. I should just erase the numbers on the triangle. So here's another right triangle, kind of the same look. And this time we have, here's our right angle. We have, this one is 15. I didn't draw these to scale, obviously. 8, they do in the book. 17, and this is y. They want us to find y degrees. So we're using the tangent function because this is the tangent section. So we would say the tangent of y equals opposite, which is 8, over adjacent, we're not going to use the hypotenuse, which is 15, and then we do the inverse tangent of both sides. So we're going to say y equals the inverse tangent. If you use parentheses, you can enter this all into your calculator. And so we're going to get inverse tangent of 8 divided by 15. And we're going to get y equals approximately 28.07 degrees. So you use the inverse tangent whenever you want to get the degrees. I think they get a little bit trickier, but they have some square roots and things like that, but you just use your calculator and put in the square root and you should be fine. And they're a little tricky, but I think you can do them. So again, use the help board. I don't know if I call it the help board or discussion board or whatever, and put any ones that you can't get because these definitely get difficult. So, well, that is it for lesson 8.5.